ATG Radio. We are the greatest show. Rank numero uno. ATG Radio.
Without further ado, my man Cedric Ceballos, you're in the house, man. ATG Radio, where we appreciate you stopping by tonight.
Big Frank, man, good to be here, man. You said Philadelphia. I spent the last 2 weeks in Philadelphia, man. I am chicken cheese steaked out right now. I can't even fathom to take another bite of a cheesesteak in front of me, man. I'll tell you, great city, great town, and a great group of people, man. And very happy to be on your show, man. What's going on?
Nothing, man. You mentioned Philadelphia. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a great city. 6 years ago, I had to move to Las Vegas just to get away from them chicken cheesesteaks, Pat's, Geno's, Tony Luke's, all them good spots out there. I'm getting older, so the weight starts to pack on. But in this case, you're the subject today, man. I mean, I'll tell you like this. Getting you on the show, and I tell you, I searched far and wide and hard, and if you talk to your PR, Crystal, she'll tell you, I pressured and bugged her every day to make sure. Says he's still good. She said the 27th. I told everybody, and for you to come on this show, man, all the stuff you've done on the court, and I'll be honest with you, it's kind of like music today. A lot of, I got a couple of my co-hosts on the show, Tim Cudgis and Taylor Mater, on the show with us right now. They're a little bit younger than I am, and it's all good. They're into the Gucci Man and everybody else like that. We had him on the show the other day, and I'm not too familiar with that music. But even going back to '94, I believe that's the year you put out B-Ball's Best Kept Secret. And I'm not even saying this because you're on the show. It was definitely the best track on that album. I guess it's because of that era. Because of the G-Funk, it was the West Coast movement, just start really kicking in hard globally, and you came in there and you just shocked us all. Can you kind of go, we'll start there, kind of go into that a little bit?
Well, I kind of kept it 100% me. I hung out with Snoop and Dre and Warren G, and that whole thing. I kind of grew up in that era. That's who I grew up with, so I just kept it all the way me. A lot, other than Dana Barrows, I think everybody else had their rhymes written for them, and so it wasn't really them. Nobody can really write rhymes for you. They can't put a personality on you like you can, and I think that's why me and Dana kind of shined out of the group, because we wrote our own rhymes, and we really had a passion for being music. Shaq's my dude. I love him to death, but he just threw that track on there that he had on his album. He didn't sit down and go, let me write a song for this particular album with all the basketball people on it. So, Jason Kidd wasn't a rapper. He just did it for fun. Chris Mills, who I grew up with, was just doing it for fun. Isaiah Ryder goofed around. Gary Payton goofed around. He just, had an opportunity to fulfill the dream. But me and Dana had a lot of passion for it. And, and not only, did Warren do the track up nice, but I kind of smoothed Warren. We got our cars fixed at the same place, so I added a little bit more woofers in his Suburban. I added some steering wheels. I added some extra stuff before he made this track, and make sure that the guy told him that I bought this stuff for him. So when he went in and get the track, he had a little bit more enthusiasm then. And at the time, he's bananas right now. At that particular time, Regulators that came out, and he was on top of his game. He's like one of the top 5 producers of hip-hop. So, I kind of smoothed him a little bit, and he kind of felt a little like, oh, man, let me go ahead and take care of it. Don't let me not just treat this like somebody just giving me money and I just throw any kind of track at him. And he came, I told him the concept. I wrote the hook. I wrote everything. And he kind of just kind of fit the song to what I wanted to do. And it was a great experience, man, on that level. I had studios before in Phoenix before I came to L.A. and before I recorded that song, but to be at a big studio like the Hit Factory in New York, it's just dream come true. Michael Jackson, everybody, man, you name it, they've been through that place and recorded, and I just was fortunate enough, man, to enjoy the experience 100%.
And I thought like this. You mentioned, you wrote the hook and all the lyrics. I said that right there was that grooving song, and at that time it fit in perfect. And you know, I was also wondering. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're busy on the court. You know, traveling, hard work. You're, you know, what I'm saying, playing at the highest level. I mean, I know you couldn't go on, you know, what I'm saying, on your own. I know Ron Artest tries to do it, and you know, no offense to Ron Artest. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the music he puts out. I'm not a big fan of rap, hip hop today like I was then. But I was surprised you never took it any further because of, you know, you were smooth with it. You were smooth, and that was the thing that was shocking about it because, you know, on the court you were all business, and I mentioned, you know, you had the personality, the charisma to go with it, where you also entertained, and then you went on there with a track. I guess you could say today it was a hood track, and it was like, okay, you know, you kept it good, but you also got a little street ornament in it, and I was surprised that it never went further because I remember, you know, growing up, being, you know, all into what Dre was doing, Snoop, everything like that. I mean, you know, if you were into hip hop and you weren't buying Doggy Style and the Chronic and stuff like that, I don't know, you know, the Regulator, all that stuff like that, Warren G, you know, I don't know what you were listening to. I mean, the East Coast rap at the time, but I was surprised you never took it one step further and did a full album, or maybe you did. Enlighten me if you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, the scenario happened like this. I had created a record label, HYB Records, and I got full distribution out of Southwest distribution, which, you know, obviously you guys remember Master P and all the big heavyweights like Mystical and all those guys were coming out of and all the big Houston movement, Lil Flip, all of them, they were coming out of South. They were being distributed by Southwest. So I got a distribution deal, and I was ready to go. I had completed my whole album. My album is still in the can right now, Bananas. A couple people have heard it. Obviously, my campus heard it. But at the time, I was playing for the Mavericks when this album was coming out, and I was spending 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and then going to practice at 9. And I got satisfied with being on a losing team. You know, and I think because of my passion was towards basketball at the time, I got satisfied with being on a losing team, even though my numbers was up in Dallas, which wasn't hard to do. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. If you play in the NBA and you get minutes, you're going to average 20 points. You're going to average 10 rebounds. That's easy. You got to be, you know, semi-retarded not to if you get over 30, 40 minutes. It's just the way it is. It's because the game is so fast-paced. For you to get lost out there and not average numbers like that with those minutes, you know, you might be a rebounder or a scorer. But anyway, you know, my attention was going more towards my music, and that's not what I wanted to do. I really enjoyed it. I really had a passion for it. I've been DJing since I was 12 years old. I've been in that whole game. But, you know, first things first, I had a job to do on the court, and I got satisfied by losing. I was looking forward to the studio session after the game. You understand what I'm saying? So once I realized that I was gearing myself towards a different direction, that's when I dropped everything. I called Southwest up and explained them to them what was going on. I dropped my record label, shut it down. I just rented out my studio in Los Angeles. I didn't even do my work in there at all, and just kind of went from there. I mean, I really, don't get me wrong. And then when the opportunity came for me to do it after I've been playing basketball, I thought I was a little bit too old and mature to do that, and I didn't want to try to get in the game, you know, at 35 at the time, you know, because I left basketball early. I was only 30 years old when I stopped playing, and so I just didn't want to try to climb that mountain as a new artist at the age of 35. I just didn't want to do that.
Well, no, you know what, that does that. I mean, you had the skills, I mean, as far as rapping was going, but, you know, you're 6'7", and one of the best forwards in the league and stuff like that. I think, you know, one outweighs the other, I mean, regardless in a business sense. But, you know, you go back into this, and I don't want to kind of turn the attention to me. I mean, you're here, you got a lot of stuff going on. I just want to briefly kind of get into your career, and I want to go back. And, again, you know, I used to play on the court. I didn't get any much taller than 5'10", in my life, but we played on the courts. And, you know, I remember early 90s, you know, I'm still in high school, I'm a teenager, and I remember, and I'm telling you this right now, it was the biggest pain. Now, you know, again, I'm young, I can only take the bus certain places, but for me to get myself a Phoenix Suns jersey of you, because I would wear it on the courts, and I mean, I would play, and I would kind of mold my game. I mean, I couldn't dunk, I wasn't big, but I was at the time the biggest 5'8", 5'9", and if any of my friends from back in South Philly could tell you, I wore out my Phoenix Suns jersey of U champion size 44, which I actually still have today. For whatever reason, I saved a lot of them. Those were I think you get them for like $40, $50 at the stores, but I used to wear it out, and that's who I would be on the court. Was you, and this is why I wanted to tell you that during that time, you were there during, I think, one of the greatest years for me as far as being a basketball fan was the year the Suns went to the championship. It was exciting. Dan Marley, Danny Ainge. We can't forget about my man who came from Philly. You guys stole from Philly, Charles Barkley. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That I thought was one of the most unfortunate things. I mean, you guys didn't get a chance to get the title in '93. It was '93, right? If I'm not mistaken. That was '93. Greatest year I think I ever had. I mean, I like watching the Knicks as the years went on. I think '94, '95, the lockout year was great years, but there was that one year that the Phoenix Suns were, I think, the most exciting team, and I'm 31, and from me being a fan of professional basketball, the NBA, I got to go back to that year, and that's why I wanted to ask you. You have a storied career. I said 17 years. In the league, 16 years in the league, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to get it wrong there. But you started out with the Phoenix Suns, almost finished out with the Phoenix Suns. What was your best year, as a player?
Well, it depends on what you mean by best years. As far as success, I never measure my success off of my individual goals. I wasn't a guy who needed the ball, so if individual goals didn't really mean nothing to me because I scored 50 points without having one play. So, the individual stuff wasn't really big on me. But like you said, that 93 year was huge. The reason why it was huge, not only for the Phoenix Suns and myself, but it was just huge for basketball. If you rewind that and rewind that into 92, as if 92 merged into 93, Magic Johnson retired, that big controversy about him. He came back and played in the All-Star game. Unbelievable story. I did the Hocus Pocus blindfold dedicated to him. We moved on into that next year. Charles Barkley asked for the trade. But before that, the Dream Team was assembled. So everybody had their eyes on the NBA all over the world and that Dream Team. Charles Barkley happened to be on that Dream Team, happened to be the most outrageous person on that Dream Team. Obviously Michael dominated, Magic passed it, and excited. His whole story was great. But Charles Barkley was the MVP of that team because, one, what he did on the court, but secondly, the charisma that he brought off the court, the humor, the outrageousness, the outspoken. People who knew Charles Barkley in Philadelphia loved him when he came to Olympic team and to the Phoenix Suns because they, and you talked about, you wearing my jersey and everybody's like, hey, boy, why you wearing? I appealed to the normal guy because I didn't need the ball and go clear out everybody, get out of my way, I'm about to go to work. I just kind of played the game, and whatever fell into my hands, I took full advantage of. Barkley was kind of the same way in the sense of he would say and do what everybody else is thinking and was afraid to say or do. And that's why everybody kind of gravitated him. I remember playing on that team, and he would say, man, I am a 50-50 guy, and I think I'm going to be a 50-50 guy for life. And what he meant by that is when people come to arenas, 50% of them want to cheer Charles, but the other 50% want to boo him. But they both want to come and see him. It's like a car crash on the freeway. It's a car crash, but then you just rubberneck and turn and look anyway, just to see it. And that's the way Charles was. And that whole year of basketball was just a whole world thing. We never really got that big an international. It was the first time we, as Americans, put professionals in the Olympics to play basketball. The media coverage, the attention, all the sponsors. I happen to, so funny you talked about the Olympics and Charles coming back. In the '84 Olympics, I was a ball boy for that team, and it's funny how Michael Jordan and Wayman Tisdale, who's passed away now, and all those players who was on that team, Chris Mullin, and then when I tell them that I was that ball boy, that skinny ball boy who used to always like, man, do it with your left hand. That was my saying, do it with your left hand. Then they would do something, and I would say, do it with your left hand all the time.